Wagner Group still fighting in Ukraine despite Putin kicking mercenaries out. When Wagner Group chief Yevgeny Prigozhin announced his military company's retreat from Bakhmut in May, he pledged to leave behind some of his fighters who had a main role in taking the eastern Ukrainian city, so they could aid the Russian armed forces. The future of the private military company PMC is uncertain following their armed insurgency over the weekend, which killed possibly dozens of Russian soldiers, despite Prigozhin's claims not to have spilled blood. But a Pentagon spokesman said that some of those mercenaries remain active in the special military operation. On Monday, June 26, Putin said Wagner members could continue fighting so long as they joined the Russian army. Otherwise, they could go to Belarus with Yevgeny Prigozhin or simply return home. Brigadier General Pat Ryder, the Pentagon press secretary, told reporters on Thursday evening that they continue to see some elements of the Wagner Group in Russian-occupied territory in Ukraine. They have been conducting operations in Ukraine for a while now, and so most recently near Bakhmut, and so elements of those units are still in Ukraine. Krylo Budnov, Ukraine's military intelligence chief, told a Ukrainian media outlet on June 29 that he was aware that Wagner fighters were still in the conflict regions, but added they were no longer playing an active role in the war. Wagner will no longer take part in hostilities on the territory of Ukraine, and this is the most effective unit of the Russian Federation that knows how to achieve success at any cost. The Wagner Group, under the authority of Yevgeny Prigozhin, the billionaire warlord who made his money catering to the Russian army, led the encirclement of the city of Bakhmut before withdrawing on May 25th. When Prigozhin announced his company's retreat, he posed in front of Bakhmut with two of his more experienced fighters, known as Dolik and Baber, and claimed they would remain in the region to advise the Russian forces. Dolik, who lived roughly a 5-hour drive northeast of Moscow in the Ivanovo region as a plasterer and low-level convict before volunteering for Wagner, was hailed by Prigozhin for choosing to go to the very mouth of Bakhmut meat grinder. Meanwhile, Wagner is still recruiting mercenaries for Ukraine war despite Prigozhin exile, despite Vladimir Putin's insistence that all private fighters sign contracts with Russia's defense ministry. An investigation has found that the Wagner Group is still recruiting across Russia for mercenaries to fight in Ukraine. The Wagner Group is still recruiting fighters across Russia despite its leader Yevgeny Prigozhin being effectively exiled to Belarus. A BBC investigation found that the group's recruiting offices are still signing up fighters for its private army despite the Kremlin backlash against it following the mutiny that prompted Vladimir Putin to raise fears of civil war. Recruiting offices insisted that any new members would continue to sign up for Wagner, not the Russian army, despite the Kremlin demanding that the mercenaries transfer to the defense ministry. That move sparked the armed uprising that challenged Putin's authority, although the Kremlin has since attempted to redefine his response as strong and decisive. Many of Wagner's contact points are based at fight clubs, including martial arts schools and boxing clubs, and several people who spoke to the BBC stressed that new members would sign contracts with the mercenary group, but not the Russian Defense Ministry. Last weekend, following the mutiny, Putin enacted a law that means only the Defense Ministry can recruit in Russian prisons, previously a source of fighters for Ukraine for Wagner. But the group's recruitment drive continues, And in Volgograd, a recruiter told the BBC that if someone signed up today, I could deploy him tomorrow. Earlier this week, Belarus leader Alexander Lukashenko said that Wagner fighters were welcome in his country and suggested that the Belarusian army had much to learn from them. But a woman in Saratov, central Russia, insisted that she was still recruiting men to fight in Ukraine.
Давай.
Все, зараз відео вирубую.